So what we've got here is kind of a classic chicken and the egg issue. So we want to start building the wall around the perimeter of the land. But in order to do that, we need all the materials here. We need, maybe a cement mixer. We need rebar. All the stuff that needs to be delivered to the land. But in order to secure it, we need to build a bodega, right? So we want to build a little bodega for all the materials, all the supplies, just so that it's secure and safe. But we can't start mixing the cement because we have no water or electricity. So today what we're doing is we're digging a well to get down to the fresh groundwater, which is about 18 meters down. So once we get that water, we can pump it up. We're going to have to use a gasoline pump it up in order for the workers to be able to use the water to mix the cement, to build the bodega, to build the supplies, to build the wall. We're here today to meet Seppi, who's hopefully going to end up building our wall around. We want to do it with very natural materials, so just stone. We're trying to stay away from doing the cement blocks, although the cement blocks are a lot faster and cheaper. We really want to maintain kind of the natural aspect of the build here, so hopefully Seppi shows up soon. All right, so we talked to Seppi, and now we know exactly what we need to create the whole pump. So we have our shopping list with us here. This is our shopping list. Let's do this. Monday morning. We got everything on the checklist here, shopping list, and we are ready for them to get the pozole going and get the bodega in place. 50 meters of hose, 12 meters of PVC pipe, buckets, tiny little motor, got some gasoline, oil for the motor, and all the pipe connections and fittings and elbows and adhesive. Go time. Alright, so here's the plan today. After one day of building, the guys said they ran out of gasoline already. So, I don't want to leave an entire tank of gas over there. So, what I'm going to do is go ahead and run this tank of gas over to them and fill up the little container that they have. The problem is, Martinez got the car taking Marlo to school. So, I'm going to do it on a bike. And look, I've seen Yucatecos here carrying giant garrafons on their rickety bikes that are all rusted out, so this should be no problem, right? I guess this means I'm a true Yucateco now. Let's do this. Listo. I think I'm ready for a beer. It must be noon somewhere. All right, so the reason they ran out of gas after one day was Seppi was just running the bomba the entire day and pumping the water directly into this giant blue Tinoco. And that way the water is so much closer to the bodega that they're building and the wall that they're eventually going to be building. So it's just kind of smart engineering for them to put all the water there and then take the water directly from that source. And that way, thankfully, I won't be needing to schlep this gasoline tank back and forth every single day. So very relieved about that. I noticed the other day there was a bunch of PVC pipe that wasn't used inside the pozole, which was kind of concerning because that was exactly 12 meters that we needed to go down to get the water. But Seppi said they were having a hard time getting that pipe down, so maybe they hit a rock or some sediment or something, but they couldn't get that pipe down. They didn't want to break it. So he said they were actually just getting water from 5 meters down. So it sounds like a very shallow water table here. I don't really know what that means for us in the future, but sure we'll find out one way or the other. So yeah, good day. You know, it's funny, through this whole pozo process, I started thinking about water for maybe the first time ever, and I guess how interesting and important water actually is. I mean, water covers about 71% of the Earth's surface, and yet I think we take it for granted so much of the time. If you're not familiar, this Yucatan Peninsula has a very kind of interesting history on on the story of the planet. This is actually where the Armageddon meteorite struck about 65 million years ago. So this is the one that wiped out all the dinosaurs and all the life. It landed in a place not too far from here called Chicxulub. And so this entire peninsula was underwater before that meteorite. And when it hit it, it cratered, it brought all of the land up above water. So this entire peninsula has a very interesting kind of topography, that it's super flat, like flat as a pancake, and it's all limestone underneath. So there are no above ground rivers or lakes. All the water here is underground in a network of rivers and pools, and they call the pools cenotes, and I'm going to do a whole episode on that at some point, because fascinating, these cenotes. And so that's what this whole peninsula is just there's water everywhere underneath us in extraordinary abundance. And, you know, with the limestone here, when it rains, you know, it just naturally filters down to the different water tables. So the cenotes, these pools of water, can take on many different shapes and flavors. But really interesting, the Mayans really revered these cenotes, these pools, as very sacred areas. They hosted a lot of ceremonies there, you know, maybe some say some sacrifices, but they also considered these cenotes as almost a portal to the underworld. So water is very relevant, very symbolic for life and kind of what comes beyond life here for the Mayans. So, you know, it just got me thinking, it's really interesting about water, and I suppose I haven't thought of it like this before, but there's such a dichotomy of water, actually, because we need it to sustain life, right? You can survive, what, 3 days without having water? So it's vitally important to the human species, or to mammals in general. And again, I just think we take it so for granted at times, and there's certainly a lot of waste with water. So as fundamentally, existentially important as it is, it's also extremely destructive in large doses. You know, there's no force of nature that can stop water. It finds a way. It always finds a path, and it needs to be respected as a force of nature, this water. So it's this dichotomy is just kind of interesting to me. You know, we were here in 2020. We hadn't been here very long, so we didn't get to experience a lot of the possibility, I guess, of water. But very early on in the rainy season, a hurricane came and just parked itself on top of the Yucatan Peninsula, and for 6 days, it didn't stop raining. So where we're living, the lake, you know, the artificial lake outside, was really every day we were watching the water levels and creep so close to the house, and it never quite made it. But we had a significant amount of flooding. We were lucky where we were, but the nearby pueblas were just flooded, you know, just devastating to the people. There's nothing they could do. You know, so many things got ruined, and you know, we helped lead some support for these pueblas. And the land that we're buying now, that the Monte Maya project, was certainly underwater. You know, the locals called this the generational storm, you know, the storm of a lifetime. So hopefully we don't see another one of those. But again, with some of the changing weather patterns, who knows? We just need to be aware of it, cognizant of it, and plan for it. So all of our buildings, we're planning on building, you know, at least, you know, 65 centimeters, if not a whole meter up in the air, to kind of prevent that from happening, from ourselves being flooded out. But again, it just brought me back to just think about water and how how interesting, I guess, it really is to our lives, and to watch the destruction and damage, but at the same time the beauty that water can provide us. It's really quite fascinating. You know, I think like 60% of our body is water. And when you think about that, you just think about, wow, we are mostly water. And so personally, I guess on a philosophical level, I start to think about it and think, what would it be like to be more like water? If my body is almost all water, what would it be like to really start to flow through life in a way that water actually does? And, you know, you see sometimes these little, you know, if there's some running water, and there'll be a little stream of it, and it stops, it maybe hits an incline or hits an obstacle, there's another stream that forms, and another, and the water just seems to flow and find a way regardless of the obstacles that are in front of it. And I thought, maybe I should just start living my life with this water flow. If there's an obstacle, I'll find a way around it, but just allow the flow to happen. You know, the water in my body, the water in my life, let me just flow and see what happens. And maybe that's what this Monte Maya project is. It's just an experiment of flowing through the universe like water. Something.